teachers of Reddit, what is the craziest thing you have seen on a student's social media? Not me but my wife. A student posted a suicide note on Snapchat. Another student showed it to my wife. She ran to the front office and called 911. Kid was home with his mom and had overdosed in his room. Kid was taken to hospital and survived. Saved his life. Well, I don't follow any students on Facebook. But one of my co-workers deals with kids in a different way and is more tuned in on their parents and social media. Told me her elementary schooler's mom went on Facebook Live. Naked from the waist down. Spread eagle telling people to look at her house pussy. Mom is a cokehead. Apparently. Not a teacher. But some kid at my teen school posted naked pictures of him being with another student's mom. Both were naked in the photo. Small town. Word travels to everyone. The mom and her husband got a divorce and they all moved out of town. Was a wild ride in our little town. Edit, I should clarify that the kid had just turned 18 at the time of the photo. A few years ago, a school near where I teach had an epidemic of kids exchanging nudes. From stories that I heard, the kids were trading them like baseball cards and students that didn't participate were harassed until they did. If I remember correctly, I think almost the entire football team was kicked off the team and many students throughout the school were charged with possessing child porn. These teachers at my school found a kids meme page, and keep in mind was a preppy stuck-up school. Anyway, the meme account had the usually slightly edgy kind of content, but the school acted as if it were a hate crime. Parents were called in. There was a whole school assembly on social media and the appropriate content that should be posted. The school went as far as suspending the kids behind the account for 1 week and giving detentions to every kid who liked the memes. The whole ordeal was just stupid and left me wondering if teachers even cared about the kids who were very clearly smashed on drugs. Deleted. 8th graders posted his wake and bake session on Snapchat. Someone showed the dean and now he has it saved on his phone. For the rest of the year that kid was the most straight-laced dude. Literally think the dean was blackmailing him into being a better student. Lol. Edit, my first silver. Thank you. Not me. But my fiance used to work the IT department of a school. Sometimes they got reports from students or teachers that suspect there's something on a student's school iPad. All I can say is, students, for the love of God, please stop taking nudes on school equipment. I had a student tell me that he had to go out and look for his roommate's body and therefore would not be in class, and that his roommate had been killed in a kayaking incident. Now, when a student dies, we are told. At some past institutions this was not the case. For example, if you had a student from your course commit suicide, you were just supposed to act like nothing was wrong and that nothing had happened and that they had never been there. So quite honestly was like, okay, this might be true. Or dude might be lying. It was a few years ago and so I got on Facebook. Found the student. And identified the roommate. Unfortunately it was true. Unfortunately he was not the one that found the body, and the announcement came out slightly thereafter. I was able to excuse the absence without further evidence. Which is always a nice thing to be able to do for somebody. The crazy thing, though, was that his roommate's quote was, "What doesn't kill me makes me stronger." It was uncomfortable. So, in my school district, teachers can lose their jobs for following students on social media. That being said, sometimes a student will get worried about something that they see posted and will bring me a screenshot of it. So, due to that, the craziest thing I've ever seen was one of our students pointing a gun at the camera and threatening to turn the walls of the school red with blood. I took the student who reported it to the front office and made a full report to administration. Never saw the kid who posted that again. Fighting videos like I'm talking fighting and teachers in the background watching the whole thing happen without doing a thing to separate it. Some kids were so ecstatic to show me too. What a weird world. Not me. But my GF. Principal called all teachers to talk about something a couple of students had done. They were, I assume, BF and GF. And stayed in the classroom during break. She went down on him. with one hand on his dick and the other filming for social media, Snapchat I guess. The security camera caught it too. Edit, I said recess instead of break. My bad. Thanks for correcting me. The kids are 15. 16 yo. When I was in graduate school, I was living with the cop as a roommate. One time, I came home and saw her clearly on one of my students' Facebook accounts. He had posted pictures of himself in the dorm doing illegal stuff, alcohol and weed, so like expected illegal stuff for a college kid. But it was incredibly awkward for me because she told me they were investigating him and then I got to see him in class the next day. I worked a be careful what you put on social media lesson into what we were doing. But he ended up getting kicked out of the dorms not long after, and I'm not sure if they pursued anything else. This isn't really crazy, but oh man. I stressed myself out so much in that week. I felt bad for him because she was talking about nailing him to the wall for it. But I also felt like I couldn't openly warn him. And X200B. And yes, this story is old because students were still on Facebook and weed was still a fairly serious charge. Also, I was awkward and young, and today I think I would just openly warn the student lol. When I was in middle school, there was a trend where we made fake Facebook events and invited a bunch of people. One time my brother or one of his friends made one that was called Gay Lesbian Orgy in friend's name's house and invited a bunch of people. He invited one of my friends, girl around 15 years old, that went to a different school and barely knew the people involved in the event. And she clicked she would attend without paying much attention to the name. A few days later one of her teachers approached her after class to have a very awkward conversations along the lines of, I know you might be struggling with figuring out your sexuality, but taking part in things like that could be very dangerous etc. My friend was very confused. Not me. But it happened to an acquaintance of mine when he was in high school. He's not a teacher either. One of the students in his class went missing. Parents were freaking out because it was unusual for their kid to disappear without a trace like that. A week later the cops found his decapitated head. Cops never found the rest of his body though. My acquaintance tells me the whole school was freaking out about what happened. Apparently the guy was a small-time drug dealer and something happened. Not a teacher. But in my high school there was a guy who posted a dimly lit video of him committing suicide. His friends reported the post to a teacher, who called the police and an ambulance. The responders arrived at the guy's house to find him completely okay. Turns out, he posted a video he found on the internet that looked enough like him. He didn't try to commit suicide. They took him to the hospital anyway to evaluate him. He stuck to his story until the teacher rated him out, was a close-knit alternative school where the students were close to and on a first-name basis with teachers to try and get kids to see the school as a community, go to classes regularly. This same kid threw a Halloween party earlier that same year where 100 kids showed up and hung out outside a snazzy building, only to realize after midnight that all of his excuses about why we couldn't go unamounted to the fact that he didn't even live there. Weird guy. I wonder what he's up to now. A student was admitted to Stanford and tweeted like got into at Standard or something. Stanford apparently checked out his Twitter and he had tweets that were misogynistic and other tweets talking about smoking weed. Stanford rescinded his admission and called the school to let the principal know exactly why his admission was rescinded. He ended up being fine, went to another good school on a full scholarship, but not as good as Stanford. An expensive lesson about social media.